Benny, let's talk about the impact of this. Let's first of all start with the unprecedented nature of what is happening here. This is Europe's busiest airport. How is there no redundancy? How is there no power backup for an airport of this scale and importance?
That's a very good question, and I'm sure that's something that will be closely probed in the coming days. But the situation right now, as we just heard, is this really unprecedented closure. We had, disruptions in the past. We've had weather-related disruptions. We've had strikes. We've had air traffic control outages. In 2006, we had the terror attacks in London. But even then, you didn't have a full-day, complete lockdown of the airport. This is really unprecedented. But to your point, the aviation industry is really built around redundancies. It's built around having safe systems that are foolproof, that sort of kick in if one thing goes wrong. So how this substation, which is where the fire started, that's about 2 miles away from Heathrow, how that could knock out Europe's biggest airport and busiest airport, that's really going to be a question of much debate. It's not just the airport, it's also people in the vicinity that are affected, but obviously the airport is the big one that got hit here.
So if Europe's biggest airport can be closed for a day because of something like this, Benny, does it mean that there'll be a rethink about whether Heathrow can actually handle a third runway?
That's actually a very good question. This comes at a very inopportune moment for Heathrow, who are trying to prove that they are fit for purpose, that they are fit for the future. And here you have essentially one glitch, shall we call it. It's obviously bigger than a glitch. It's a pretty substantial blaze, really knocking out this massive artery. So other airports might be looking at this and thinking, OK, what can we learn from this? We did have a case in Frankfurt a couple of years ago where a digger dug up a cable, and that led to the airport also closing down. And there, a similar discussion, like how can it be that one single cable can knock out something as important as an entire airport? So a lot of questions around what the infrastructure is like. Is it creaky? Is it outdated? Does it have the right redundancies? Yep. Those are the types of questions that people will be asking.
Benny, just give us a sense of the scale of the disruption, not just at Heathrow, but other airports in the UK, other airports around the world. How long does it take to correct a big closure like this at Heathrow? What are the ripple effects that are going to stem from it?
We're talking days here, really. I mean, you're talking about initially the first phases of the aircraft that were in the sky. For instance, there was an Etihad aircraft from Abu Dhabi that had to land in Frankfurt. Probably not where people wanted to end up. And that means you need to find alternative mode of transport. You might need to put the people up in hotels for the night. That is hugely expensive. You need to work through immigration. So a lot of crisis control at the airlines right now. Emirates, which is a huge operator into Heathrow, more than half a dozen A380s that sort of rain down on Heathrow each day. They've cancelled their entire morning service, and the afternoon also looks very, very patchy for them. So we're talking thousands of people here for each airline. British Airways alone is by far the biggest operator, more than 600 flights a day, followed by Virgin. Virgin have said the morning service is off, the afternoon service unclear. So these massive ripple effects with aircraft out of position, crew out of position, passengers out of position, that's going to take well into next week to get sorted out again.